At KSMO Radio, it's time for us to sit down with our friends from Intercounty Electric. It's Intercounty Day, as I mentioned earlier, and we do have Heather here. She's made her way in. No raindrops on you?
A few sprinkles.
Just a couple of drops
Yeah.
here and there.
Yep, on the way.
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Anyway, here we are, April. Woo,
I know.
man, time is flying, girl.
It was just Christmas, and now it's April, middle of April.
Right.
Almost.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's for a couple things. Number one, spring kind of is all but here.
Right.
We're really starting to feel it. That means two things. One, means you're going to have a bunch of juniors going to D.C. and to Jeff City.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're also going to have an annual meeting, which means it's vendor time, isn't it?
It is vendor time. Excuse me, it is vendor time. And, last month I think we kind of touched on this, and it's like, oh, well, annual meeting's not till June, and it seems a little premature to talk about it, but it's April, and June will be here before you know it. But the vendor application is something we want to talk about, because if you want to be a vendor at annual meeting, those spots are free, but they are limited. And the deadline to turn in your application for those is May 1st.
That's quick.
Which is actually quickly approaching. So if you want to be a vendor and at the annual meeting, we just need some information from you. And there's a form in the Rural Missouri magazine. You can tear that out. You can send it back in. If you don't have your magazine anymore, or maybe you're not a member and you don't get that, you can visit our website and click on the link to view the Rural Missouri and then print that out and send it in. Or if all else fails, you can always call in and talk to us, and we'll
Talk
help
to a real person.
I know, right? Unheard of sometimes
that's
these days.
crazy. It is unheard of anymore. Yeah, I had a call yesterday to a doctor's office. It took 25 minutes for a real person to get on. Nice person, don't get me wrong, but then I got on there. You could just tell that they're just going from one call to another, and they have
Oh, wow.
no idea. All right, what doctor are you seeing? Who are you seeing? And you
Right.
know.
And it took you nearly half an hour to get to him.
Well, I mean, they're having to go through, I guess, a whole bevy of different physicians. I just probably figure this is an answering service covering probably about 10 different offices, right? So you give them your address, and then they want to know your birthday and everything else.
Verify who you are.
Verify everything you are. And then they want to know when your appointment was with what doctor. So, I mean, you're giving them all the information. They should be able to figure it out. And then they start giving you your options, okay, which is fine, you know. But when you tell them, they said, well, we have this time open. I said, well, that's not a good day for me. Well, when is a good day for you? I said, well, I don't know. Give me some other options. I said, you just have to tell me when he has an opening.
Right.
So I can tell you yes or no, yes or no, yes or no.
Till we get down the line and one.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, and some of the times that she had were like 8 in the morning. I said, yeah, it's not going to work. This is in St. Louis. I ain't going to make it 8 o'clock in the morning.
Early morning.
So, yeah, very good. Well, the same idea. It's good to talk to a real person every now and then, but you don't have to. But the neat thing about being a vendor at Intercounty is the key word that Heather said really early on in her discussion, free.
It is free. And for a lot of our craft vendors, our local craft vendors, sometimes that's what keeps them from being at certain events is, they have to weigh what the cost for that booth space is and what they think they'll make that day in sales and is it worth their time or not. And that's not our intention. Our intention is to provide things for our members to do that are there at the annual meeting. So there's not a cost for that. There never has been. And I don't see that that'll ever be something that we do. So come, join us, set up your booth space. They're 10 by 10 spots. Like I said, they are limited, so we can only take so many.
Right.
If you know you want to be a vendor, May 1st is the deadline, but there's no sense in waiting till the very last minute.
No,
to
and
turn
first
it in.
come, first serve, correct?
That's right. So if we fill up and you turn it in on May 1st, there may not be room. So we'll keep a waiting list, and if people drop out, we'll be able to notify those other vendors. But if you know you're going to do it, unclip
Do
it
it.
from the front of the fridge and just go ahead and drop it off or send it in. Don't keep hanging on to it.
There you go. So, again, if you'd like to be a vendor, and if you have any questions, you can always just call Intercounty, as Heather said, and talk
Right.
to them in person. Or maybe there's a question on the form you're not understanding. It's
That's
pretty
possible, too.
straightforward, but there may be something there you just don't understand. But it's a good price.
It
Free
is.
is
It's
a
a
good
real
price.
good price.
Yeah, and some of the vendors now at some of the locations, not only do you have to pay a vendor fee up front, but then you have to pay a percentage of your sales.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there. There's not too many. I don't see many in our
Yeah.
area like that. But the closer you get to the bigger cities,
That's something.
yeah, they want a percent. Because if you're going to be very successful at your location, they want a piece of it.
Well, ain't that
Yeah,
something?
yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
We don't do that either.
No, yeah, no. It's free. Free means free.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. All right. Now, you also talked about some, obviously, at this annual meeting annual meeting in June.
Yes.
Last Friday of June again, by the way.
It is the 28th. Yep.
There are going to be some additional bikes and stuff for the kids, right?
Yeah, we've and we talk a lot about, hey, if you have any ideas or suggestions or complaints, please let us know. And something that we've noticed the last couple of years is that there are younger kids that are there that are too little for the bike drawings, and that kind of breaks your heart when you see those kids. They come up and they want to put in for the bikes, and there's not one for their age group, and they're sitting around waiting for big brother or sister to see if their name gets drawn. So we're going to kind of expand that for the kids and have some additional ages for the bike drawings. And I think,
That's cool.
yeah, I think
That's fun. I'll make it for.
that'll be good. But we'll still have everything that you're used to having at the annual meeting. We're going to, of course, provide you with some entertainment. We're going to have lunch. The guys are going to cook burgers again. And the vendors will be set up. The hospital tent's going to be set up. That goes over really well. There's a lot of people that come that morning. They fast overnight for that lab work.
You bet.
And it's at a discounted price. We're really fortunate the hospital comes over and does that for our members. And then, of course, they'll come through the registration line and get their goodie bag. And I still want to say go sit under the big tent. And it's not a tent anymore. It's a pavilion. But they've got stuff going on during the day. They've got the voting tent, which is open. Last year, they were able to go over right after they registered. They didn't have to wait for that to open. So they had all morning. And that helped, too, for people who could only be there for a short amount of time.
Sure.
You come, you register, grab your gift, go vote, and you can head back to work or whatever. So there's been some changes, but there's some things that stay the same, too. We're going to have
Or they're modified a little bit.
modified. Yeah, absolutely.
Remember the old days, you used to click in with a paper registration?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You don't remember those too well?
No, I don't remember
Either
those.
that
I
or you
remember the
forgot-
meal tickets.
Or you forgot about them.
Maybe I forgot about them. They've always stuck me in the member service tent, which is totally fine. Getting to visit with people and answer questions that they might have and talk to them about questions that they might have.
Yeah,
And
they used to have some pretty good lines.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go to
We've
check
got
in
some
everybody.
pictures. Took a lot longer to
Oh,
register.
it sure did. Now, also, all right. So, is there some things to vote on this year at the meeting?
There's not. So we do
Okay.
not have any proposed bylaw changes, but we do have, of course, every year we have an election for a director in each district. So Intercounty is broke up 3 different districts, north, central, and south, and we have 3 directors in each district. And every year we have one director that's up for re-election in that district. So nominating committee meeting, I think maybe is this week. I think it might be tomorrow. Maybe it's coming up fairly soon. So we'll see who is nominated. If anybody has expressed interest in running, then we'll find that out tomorrow or whatever day that meeting is. But there'll be an election for directors, but
Right.
not for any proposed bylaw changes this year.
All right. So, when you get your
June.
rural Missouri, everything will be in there that you're going to need.
Yeah, it's really,
Everything.
It is. It's really convenient. That back page, if you remember, there used to be the little small half booklets that you would get in the
I
mail.
love those half booklets, though.
Yeah.
They had so much good information.
They did
in
have a
them.
lot of good information. They were also very costly.
I understand they were costly, but they were good information.
They were good.
They were handy. You could put it by the. I know, we're going to date this a little bit. You put it by the phone, or put it right there in your drawer, which has all your stuff that you need for our quick contact. I won't say emergency number. I hate saying emergency numbers, but quick contact. So you weren't sure about something and you had a question with Intercounty, you could just go and open it and flip it to the page and bang, it was right there.
So
You know,
maybe we need some sort of like fridge magnet with our contact information.
that would
or
be
something.
cool too. Yes.
Maybe
I
something.
mean, it
like
really, people just don't understand. There is no phone books anymore. So if you want to go find something, at the office, who do we contact? Like Tony Floyd, you want to contact economic development or whatever. Okay, it's fine to call the main office and they can patch you through. It's not that big a deal. But a lot of people just want to talk to them straightforward.
that. Yeah. Well, and calling the main number is probably going to be the easiest.
It
And then
usually
once
is.
you get that person, you can get their extension number from them and they can, then if they tell you, hey, this is my extension number, and from now on, if you just enter this, you don't have to wait for someone to answer and
Sure.
transfer you to me. So use that main number. That's what the majority of our members
I
do
know,
anyway.
but you can always. But what about the payment number? That's different.
It is. And that could be something we put on a magnet too.
Yeah, put on a magnet.
Name,
You can put on
mailing address,
IECA.coop.
website, phone
And,
numbers.
just maybe a small magnet. You don't have to make it a very big magnet.
Leave them a line where they can write their application number. If you're able to write on it.
Right.
We're brainstorming here.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. You can put your poll number on there.
Yeah.
Your account number on there. Wow, you could put a lot of stuff on that magnet. That would be so cool.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have those at annual meeting. Wouldn't that be nice?
I doubt it this year.
Oh, that sounds like a dare.
No, I doubt it this year. Because it'd be very difficult to get all that design. Well,
Stan
April.
doubts me.
April, maybe. But it's probably not in the budget for this year. Probably.
I've been challenged.
Yeah.
I feel challenged. I'm like,
Well, okay. We'll
Okay.
call it a challenge.
okay.
We'll see. We'll see if we get those refrigerator magnets in there. All right. Very good.
Okay.
Anyway, but there's a bevy of information in rural Missouri
Absolutely.
that comes your way in June, and that will also be your ballot as
It
well.
is. Yeah. So the back page, that back page of the little book that you got in the mail was your registration card and your ticket to essentially go and vote.
As well as your proxy.
As well, yeah, which we do not have proxies anymore.
No. But that was your proxy.
Yes, it was. So now the back page of that Rural Missouri, you'll notice your June edition, by your name, there's going to be a barcode under it. That is affiliated with your membership number, with that that unique identifier to you as a member. And if you bring that to annual meeting, we have these little scanners and we just scan it and we get you checked in and registered, and it makes the process very quick. Not nearly as long a lines as what Stan was talking about earlier.
Yes.
But if you show up at annual meeting and you left your book at home, please don't turn around and think that you can't join us that day or that you have to make a different trip. We can look you up. It's just going to take a little bit longer in the line. So
Sure.
we recommend that you bring at least your back page of that magazine. We'll get you scanned, get you checked in, and then you get a little card that you take over to the voting tent. And voting is on iPads now, which our voting
Is immediately
delegates,
tabulated.
They love this because used to, especially
Oh,
when there
gosh.
was bylaw changes that were proposed, or if there was a race for directors, they would have to take all those locked ballot boxes. They take them back to the office. We had election tellers and an outside attorney, and then of course our attorney, and they oversee the counting of these votes. But it was all done by hand, and sometimes
So you do remember some of this.
I do remember. And so that took a long time. So voting would close and then everybody just
Waited.
waits. And they wait and they wait. And then they would come back with the results. But now voting closes,
Within
tabulate
minutes.
those. We've got the results The election tellers that we have, many of them were tellers when they were hand counted. I think all of them actually may have been, because this is something that just within the last few years that we've changed, and they love it.
Oh, I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, the accuracy and the speed that can be done with. So that is something that's a little bit different. But you register, then you go vote, get your goodie bag, stop by member service tent, get your picture in the lineman's bucket. We've got people that do that every year. They were totally bummed during COVID when we didn't have an actual in-person meeting because they said that messed up their tradition, because every year they had a picture in the bucket.
Yeah.
So, we'll have that again. And if you've got kids or grandkids with you, or neighbor kids, or whoever you bring with
'em.
you, it's a park. Let them play.
That's right.
Let
Bring
'em
them.
Register for the bike and
It's a
coloring
good time.
contest. Yeah,
It's
a
an
good day.
important meeting, but it's
It
still a
is.
good time.
absolutely. Yep,
Some people call it the intercounty picnic, but it is actually the annual meeting.
it is. Yep, it's our annual business.
But you're more than
meeting.
welcome to picnic if you want.
And that's what most people do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. So that's coming up the final Friday in June.
Yep.
Back to the old tradition. Last year we couldn't say that.
I know it wasn't the last Friday. I'm not sure what happened there. It was hard
5 Fridays.
to
That's
talk
why.
about.
So you did on the 4th one.
Maybe so. Yeah.
It
It's
worked.
just a lot easier to say last Friday in June.
I know. And it'll work most of the time.
Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
of the time. All right, very good. So Heather has this itinerary all typed out.
don't
It's really
have an
got me
itinerary.
kind of concerned. I'm going to
No,
say
well,
something.
we've done talked about
Half of it.
the annual meeting crafters. I do want to talk about Youth Tour
Let's go right ahead.
because I have Youth Tour winners' names.
I know you do.
And we read this list of names last month. And if you have been listening at all the last 6 months, it feels like, Youth Tour Essay Contest, it's something that we put on at the co-op. Co-ops across the state, across the nation are doing the same thing. We had students at each of their high schools, juniors, this was just for high school juniors only. They wrote an essay about someone that was a role model to them. And the school narrowed those down to the top 3. And then those students came back towards the end of March and they interviewed, and they were nervous little wrecks. And then they came out of the boardroom and they sighed a sigh of relief, and they said, "You were actually right. That wasn't bad." But they did really well. The kids that showed up, they did. They just, every year, I think this generation especially, they kind of have a bad rap for not being engaged and not knowing how to communicate, and that's not the case for all of them. And we really see these kids shine during our essay contest because they write an essay that's not required. They've wrote it exceptionally well. They've made top 3 at their school. Then they show up. They go before a panel of judges, even though they are a nervous wreck. And they amaze our judges every year. So kudos to these kids. What we have this month, different than last month, is instead of just the names, we know who's going on which trip.
Yeah.
So you get to listen to the names again, but now you get to hear where they're going. If you recognize any of these students' names, please congratulate them because they did step out of their comfort zone. They participated in something that wasn't required, and now they have no idea really how amazing this trip that they won,
The
whether
journey
it's
they're going
DC
to
or
go
Jeff City.
on, yeah.
They until they get back. If you talk to them now and then you talk to them after the trip, I think it's going to be a much longer conversation this summer because they're just going to have so much to say. But I will.
You may go ahead and proceed.
Okay, sounds good. So for Licking, going to Washington, D.C., we have Nicole Paola. To Jeff City are Ethan Dominich and Timothy Norris. For Houston, we have Kristen Eli going to D.C., and 2 runners-up were Dana Kim and Hayden Riggs. In Kabul, we have Gideon Warnicki going to D.C., and Siobhan Moss and Michael Riggs going to Jeff City. In Plato, we have Destiny Evans going to D.C. and Joseph Cook going to Jeff City. In Rolla, we have Mohammed Algra going to D.C., and then the 2 students going to Jeff City are Olivia Park and Catherine Arnold. In Summersville, we have 1 young lady, Audrey Bell. She'll be going to Washington, D.C. Mountain Grove, Cooper Horning going to D.C., and Caitlin Redker and Carly Olivia's going to Jeff City. In St. James, Kat Lillis going to D.C. and Ava Innes going to Jeff City. And then right here in Salem, we have Chloe Baldwin, one winning that trip to Washington, D.C., and Jalen Walker going to Jeff City. So
Very good. So we had some kids not show up?
we had some kids not show up.
Or that couldn't fit it in their schedule.
Yes, and so we'll talk about this next year when we start talking about this program, but it's really important that these kids know this interview is required, that the date is not flexible, that there's not an alternate date to do this. We have 3 judges who volunteer their Saturday to come in, and in order to be judged fairly in comparison to the other students that do make it that day, you'd have to have the same judges, same questions.
Oh, sure.
And the students, when they make top 3, they secure one of those interview spots. And it's important that if those students know they cannot attend that day, that they let us or their teacher know as soon as possible. Because these students that didn't show up, had we known in advance, we could have asked the school for an alternate.
Sure.
And we would have been upfront with those students, letting them know, hey, maybe these other 2 students at your school received this study packet last week. You're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage, but the really great thing is there's 3 trips, there's only 3 students, and you could be the absolute worst interviewer of the day.
You're going to go.
And you're still going to go because your essay earned you that top 3 spot.
Right.
And then the interview is what determines which trip you'll go on. But it's important that these kids, especially the ones that knew in advance that that date just didn't work for them, if they could have told us a little bit ahead of time, maybe we could have got somebody to fill their spot. And that's unfortunate, but hopefully next year we'll stress that a little bit more.
Right.
And we'll make sure that the coordinators at those schools know to maybe check in with their kids or ask before they give them, when they tell those students, hey, you've made top 3, maybe then they could ask at that time.
Sure. Is there a way that we would know when we're telling them to sign up what that date's going to be?
Oh, absolutely. It's in the brochure that we give them when we go to the schools and we talk to the students.
Well, I know we don't usually mention it, but...
Yeah. When we talk to the students, we tell them the interview date is right inside here. It's Saturday, March 23rd. And we do go over the fact that it's required, but it's also a lot of information all at once. And if anything, when they leave, they're probably what they're taking with them is, I could win a free trip to DC.
Yeah.
And the details are like, well, I'll figure that out if I make top 3. So.
Or I don't have a chance. I don't even know why I'm doing this. And then they write an essay and they win.
Right.
Or
and
get
we had,
chosen.
And I shared this last month, but we had some really, really good essays. We did. We had some very strong writers, and we had some really great students with interview skills. Many of them had not done that before, but our judges really just bragged on the kids this year how well they were prepared, that they knew the answers to these questions and that they were personable and interacted really well. So kudos to the teachers and parents for getting these kids prepared. They did really, really well this year.
Well, that's great. So you're not going with them.
Hopefully one year. There's a list. So this is out to DC is all of Missouri. And if you're an employee at a co-op in that department and you would like to be a chaperone, then you sort of put your name on the list. And then you wait your turn.
You wait like the kids wait, right?
We wait like the kids wait. Yeah, absolutely. But there's usually, I don't know, around 12 or 15 chaperones that go, plus you've got people from our statewide office, and there's always someone from the rural Missouri staff. The kids don't realize how important that is until they get back, and then they have access to all these pictures that they have taken with their professional cameras that are going to be so much better quality than what they snap with their cell phone, So,
plus they catch the kids not looking imposing.
Right. Those candid shots.
They're just always taking those shots that you always wish you had. That you're not really aware somebody's taking a picture of you, and usually that's when some of the most neatest things happen.
Right. Yeah, those genuine expressions.
Very good. All right. Well, wow. I know there's more in that itinerary.
There
now.
is more.
Okay.
So one of the things is our surplus sale. I'm sure you were going to talk about that too. No.
Okay.
Yes,
No,
guilty.
it would have come up, but
We are having a surplus sale. It's going to be Monday, April 22nd through Thursday, the 25th. And you can come in as early as 8 o'clock in the morning, that Monday morning, and you can get your bid in by 5 o'clock that Thursday. But it's going to be the 22nd to the 25th. And we do have 3 different vehicles that are going to be in that. We've got a Tahoe
Okay.
and a couple of Chevy 1500s, and we've got information about those on our website and in the magazine
maintenance
too.
for records, everything.
Yep. Should be an ad in the papers this week too with some information about it. And then there's there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff. There's desks and office chairs and file cabinets, and there's some generators and some chainsaws and chainsaw parts and cabinets and
Cabinets and more cabinets.
and more cabinets and miscellaneous office supplies. There's just stuff that has accumulated, and
It needs to go.
It needs to go, and we're member owned, and they get first dibs at that. And we're not
We
going
just-
to trash it. We're going to
Try and make something out of it.
right, yeah,
Which is great. Now, here's the one thing, though. If you do go bid, don't go in there just to bid to get the price up and not intend to win and then pick it up, because you guys don't want it back.
We don't want it back. So what'll happen is then on Friday, those bids will be opened. We'll go through those, determine who was top bidder on each one. We'll start to contact those people, and then they'll have that following week, the Monday through Wednesday, to come and get those things picked up and paid for. And we usually don't have much of a problem with people winning and then deciding to pass on it. But if that does happen when you're contacted and you don't want it, then we would just contact the next highest bidder.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And those are sealed bids. So when you come in, you're assigned a bid number that's put on the top of your sheet. And then you have a paper and you can walk through the surplus sale area, and those are lots will be numbered, and then there'll be that lot number and description on the sheet too. And you'll just put your
Your bid-
price on there, your bid
your bid
amount.
number, your price, and
Right. And then you'll seal that up in an envelope, and we'll tuck it down in actually one of our old annual meeting ballot boxes back when they were paper
I'm gonna say you still
ballots.
have a use for those, huh?
We do, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll tuck it down in those. Those are locked until Friday morning, and then
Pretty soon the bid will be on tablets as well.
it might be. Who knows?
Well, it'll probably get there, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. For now, this.
But for now, it
Works
just
okay.
just as easy. Yeah. But so don't pass up the surplus sale. There's usually some pretty good stuff out there. And somebody said, "Well, how can it be pretty good stuff? They're getting rid of it." Well, it's stuff that's being replaced because there's a lifespan. When you have a business and things, sometimes when things get depreciated out and there's a lifespan to it, it's just time to get rid of it. Or maybe you don't need that particular desk anymore. Maybe you had it in a room that it has a 90-degree angle in it, and you've used that room for something else now, and you don't have a need for that
Right.
big desk anymore. So,
Right.
it doesn't mean anything's wrong with it. It just means that you can get it at a really good price.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
don't forget, to get out there that week, you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And you really want to see it. I always enjoy looking at it. So when people tell me, well, you can do it from a picture. I can't do anything from a picture. I mean, I
See
can
it.
get an idea if I'm interested in it, right?
Right.
I can do that.
Yeah.
But if I don't go in there, see it, and see, okay, if I turn that over, look at that flaw in the back, or
Then you
look at
didn't
this,
know.
and then I can say, well, I don't really want that since it's got that on it, or this is on it, or maybe there's a scratch here, or whatever it is that you just are very particular about. Make sure you go look at it. I really highly recommend it. It'll be worth your time,
It will. Yeah.
because you will save quite a bit of money on buying new.
Yeah, if there's something that you need that's there, you need a desk for home, and you can find one.
Or a cabinet. But you would
Or a
need a
cabinet.
cabinet.
Right.
They got cabinets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bunches of them, too. So anyway, good stuff. Now, again, give me those dates again.
It's going to be Monday, April 22nd through Thursday, April 25th.
Okay, very good. So get that down, and that's when it's available. You can go over
Right.
there and take a look at them. Are the vehicles all going to be at the main office?
Yes,
They're
so
going to be right there?
everything will be at Licking. We'll have obviously the vehicles outside. Some of the other big items, there's a pile of scrap metal that's going to be there. The things like the chainsaws and the chainsaw parts, we don't want inside on the
Right,
floor
yeah,
in the
sure.
auditorium. So some of those items will be outside, but then the rest will be inside our auditorium so you can walk through, and there's things there that we don't want left out in the weather, obviously. We're not going to leave chairs and desks and stuff outside.
Be not a good idea.
Right. So, couple different spots there at the Licking office, but we'll direct you to where to find everything.
Okay, very good. So mark that down on your calendar, and then put that underneath your intercounty magnet on your.
Right? You can stick it on your fridge.
I couldn't resist throwing that in there. All right, very good. All right. You have something else? I feel like I don't need to come up with any ideas anymore.
Well,
you have them all written in front of you.
I wanted to talk. Yesterday was the eclipse, obviously, but yesterday was also Lineman Appreciation Day. The second Monday in April is the day. Several years ago, there was a state statute that designated the second Monday of April as Lineman Appreciation Day, and we talk about, it's their appreciation day, and I hope, I was going to say, I hope we do a good job of appreciating them year round. I certainly know they're appreciated. I hope they feel appreciated, but yesterday was just sort of their
Different.
day.
It was special.
It was their day, yeah.
They turned the lights off for a while in some
They
areas.
did, yeah. When the lights went out, yeah. When it got dark, because of our linemen, you could still have lights. But we are at Intercounty. We're blessed with an incredible group of linemen, and we brag on them here at
Sure.
KSMO
Right.
throughout the year. But really
And
grateful
we will,
for
and
what
well,
they
we
do.
should too. 'Cause
Right.
It can be a thankless job.
Right. And if you run into one of those guys and you tell them thank you, they're not going to ask you for that. They're probably not going to, I'm just doing my job, you know.
Yeah.
But they do a really good job at it, and they do deserve to be shown some appreciation. So,
It's nice somebody just recognizes for what you do.
yeah.
Just recognizes you for what you do.
Yeah. And it's important work that they do. And we've talked before, it's not something that just anyone can do
I'm
or
not
would
doing
want
it.
to do.
You want to do it?
No. Nope. No hesitation there. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for what they do. But no, it wouldn't be good. I don't.
Wouldn't be good.
No.
Not for you. It wouldn't be good for you.
Yeah.
But
It wouldn't be
it's
good
a-
for our
it-
members
it-
either.
but it's a necessary function.
It is.
There's a lot of different opportunities in Intercounty. We actually had talked about that at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the kids actually had the opportunity to, in an essay for the contest, put down their favorite job or what job
Right,
they
what
would like
job.
to have in Intercounty. And I'm sure there were different ones that the kids might have put down that, man, you didn't even know that those existed.
Right.
And then sometimes you find out that those jobs actually are there, or there might be a derivative of that job there. And things change. Intercounty has moved up. You've gotten technologically advanced, so you're going to have IT people. You're going to have that. You're going to have engineers. You got
Right.
that. You're going to have receptionists. You're going to have secretaries. You're going to have
Accounting
maintenance
and
people. You're going to have all kinds of different people, and not just linemen, but the linemen. You're going to have probably inventory control.
Right.
So a lot of times we don't think about all that, but who had to go through for this upcoming surplus sale and determine which pieces were going to go? Somebody has to do that.
Right. Yeah. I think the linemen they're absolutely the face of the co-op.
You see them out there.
You see them out there, and what we do, we could not do without them. The services that we provide, but there's a lot of moving parts at the co-op, and I think that's kind of what you're referring to. That
sure.
And we did when we had that as an essay topic the year for Youth Tour Contest. We had kids write about going into accounting at the co-op or into IT, or they wanted to be an engineer. Or, a lot of different options when it comes to jobs at the co-op.
And there's financial jobs too. I mean, when you start looking at kind of like what Tony does on economic development, there's different things, different aspects of that. When you're starting to deal with USDA and things of that nature, there's some education there that most people probably would not think of intercounty having that. So there's just a lot of different doors that are available to be opened at Intercounty Electric, and find out behind each door there might be new surprise of a job or an occupation that you didn't know was there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Very good. Speaking of one of those occupations we've talked about before, but I want to talk about it again. Engineers, because this is the time of year when a lot of people, and I've already seen them out there, looking at property that I'm going to put my house over here. And I just shake my head and I said, I doubt it, but you go ahead and you say you're going to do it. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but when I'm looking around and I see no power lines and I see no services available, people should take that into consideration before they make this wild promise to their spouse or to their significant other, or even to themselves, that I really want that house there and I'll do whatever I have to do to get it there. Well, that may be above and beyond what you have to do. 'Cause there's a lot of things to consider.
There's a lot of planning, even just with your electric utility, whether it's intercounty or not. You know, you're definitely going to want to have an engineer. You're going to want to contact them. And as Stan has mentioned before, do not wait until the last minute to do that. Let us be a part of that planning process. There's easements that we may have to get. There's calculations that we can do to determine what the cost would be to get it to you at that spot that is just your top choice. But even once we decide that and we give you that information, then there's got to be a work order and then it's got to be built. And so there's time required with that, just the same as if you're bringing in water or you're having a well put in or sewer. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts when you're building a house. And one of the worst things you can do is wait until the last minute to contact utilities to try to get them in. So let us be a part of that planning process. Let us get you in contact with the engineer for your area and then get you some information.
You know, one of the things, Heather, about that, and we don't bring it up, but sometimes availability of getting poles. I mean, some of the supplies during COVID especially, you couldn't get them.
Right.
You know, think about the, your generator switches, your transfer switches. Couldn't find them. And what's the status of our General-Links?
They're still, I mean, we cannot get them quickly.
Yeah.
And it kind of...
You can get them.
We can get them, yes, but they're not... It's not 2-day shipping.
Yeah, and you don't have them in stock.
We don't have them in stock, yeah. And we did have a problem. Inventory was an issue, especially during COVID. And that's not the bigger problem now. The bigger problem now is the cost.
Sure, oh yeah.
We've really seen costs skyrocket since then. And we were looking at even just the price of a pole 5 years ago compared to today. 5 years ago, one of our standard poles was around $170. Now they're over $350 for the same pole. So we can get them, but it's costing us quite a bit more.
And that's why I say don't hesitate. Don't think they're going to be able to get all those right away, because I know sometimes just attending city meetings and things, when they go to order those poles, they got to give them 6 weeks notice to get all those poles. Well, if you're going to have a long run to your new chosen location for your home, and Intercounty doesn't have enough poles right there, it doesn't mean they don't have any in the entire Intercounty area, but they can't just take all the poles that they have to get to your house.
Right.
Because in case there's a storm that comes up or a pole breaks or gets hit or just cracks, they have to have poles available to go replace that, and they have to do it fairly quick.
Right. We had storms last week, as you know, kind of congregated right around I-44, but we had 20 broke poles last week in that storm. Those winds, just high winds, and Mother Nature does what she wants sometimes.
And age.
And age, right,
the
right.
poles
But
get
these, we're really fortunate. We work with a contractor that comes in. They do pole inspections for us. They grade those. They do testing on those poles, and they let us know which ones are flagged for replacement. So that helps us maintain our system and keep it strong. But sometimes there's just weather events or vehicle accidents or a number of things that can happen that can cause poles to break.
Right. And when winds get strong enough, and it may not be the pole that can't withstand the wind, it's something that the wind picks up and throws into that
Right,
pole.
which is the case a lot of times. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the pole is compromised. So it does happen that way, guys. So, yeah, please, the reason I bring that up for engineers is because it is that time of year, and I see a lot of people talking about where they're going to build their new house, and they want it done by August. And I just almost start laughing because they have no well, they have no septic, they have nothing there.
Yeah.
And I thought, guys, you don't know how long this is going to take for you to get all this done. And hopefully it will be done by August. That would be fantastic. But chances are you have to have, geological survey people come out and test the ground. They got to test the earth. They got to make sure it's porous enough for this. And, and then you're going to have to get it within your county and get the engineers out. And then they're going to have to figure out, okay, if we go this direction, we have to use these people for easements or this. So there's a lot to consider.
There is.
So please don't be impatient. You're gonna have a hurry up and wait.
Right.
Get all those things written down. Hurry up and get in touch with them, and then wait.
Right.
Just like the airport. You get used to it.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Hurry up. You had to get there 2 hours early, and then you sit and you wait.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, it's
necessary
just something
things.
that, again, I just want to make people aware. It just doesn't happen in a month or 2 months. It just can't. There's just so many things to do. And then if you find somebody who's just will not concede and give you an easement, you have to start all over again.
Yeah. And that doesn't happen often, but it is
It
an
has
issue that
happened.
we run into sometimes. Yeah.
All right. Very good. I'm done with that. Next one.
Well, you brought up springtime and building houses, and that made me think about just yard work, and projects that you might have at home. And I just want to remind people about 811, making sure you call before you dig. Maybe it's something that doesn't feel like a big deal, putting in some fence or tilling up a garden or whatever it might be. Please make sure you call 811. They'll contact all the different utilities, have those someone from that utility come out and mark their lines. You do want to make sure if you've got propane that you contact. If you're not sure where those lines are at, contact them, because that's not a part of 811. But
or if you have a heat pump, that also is not part of it. You may need to get it with your contractor, especially if you didn't have it put in while you were there.
if it's not on the outside of the
Because
house.
if it's water run underneath and you don't know where those lines are, and you determine you want to put a garden right there along that house,
Yeah,
you may not want to.
not a good idea. But
Yeah.
before you put a shovel in the ground, you just really need to make sure you know where those underground utilities are. You don't want to dig into them. There's some you could dig into that would be an awful mess and a huge inconvenience and costly. But there's others, like the electric lines, that if you dug into, it could be so much worse than just an expensive mess.
Sure
So
can.
just call that number or go to their website. They're going to get some information from you, your address, contact information, kind of general area of the project that you're going to be working on. And then we'll be one of the utilities that's notified if it's in our area, and we'll come out and get ours marked, and other utilities will too.
Color coded.
Color coded.
Color coded. And if you see something that says like IE and it says OK underneath, that means there's nothing.
You're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
So there you go. Mm-hmm. I had one of that when we did that one time, and they sprayed it in grass. Okay. And then it rained, and so the grass grew, and so you couldn't really. Which one is that? Does that say okay?
And we'll have notes on that service order, so if you ever needed to call in, we could give you some notes.
Right. Well, I mean,
from
it's
that,
just
but,
sometimes if you don't get out there right away, and sometimes you may not know when they get out there to mark the lines
Mm-hmm.
either. Usually it's within a day or two.
Yeah.
I won't. Usually they say within 3 days, but usually it's a day or two they get
Yeah.
out there. and
The
get them
guys are
marked.
pretty quick to
Yeah.
get those done.
So make sure that if you have asked for that to be done, that you check.
They're watching for it.
You
Yeah,
know, go out
absolutely.
there. And again, there'll be different colors for the different services that are there. I think like Klieg gas is yellow, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not Klieg gas.
Just-
Ameren gas is yellow, and I think that's a different one. And then you've got cable for your phone, and then you've got different stuff if it's not on a pole.
Right. Water and electric.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep, very good, very good. Good stuff. That's a good reminder.
Yep.
All right. You got anything else?
I've got one more thing, and I shouldn't have ended on it because it's the downer. So now we're gonna have to come.
You're
up
not
with
going to
something
talk about that rate increase.
I know, but I need to. So we
I
have
was
we
hoping
have
that you would just ignore it.
we have talked it and talked it and talked it, but I just want to make sure we're being very transparent. We don't want our members to be surprised. April 1st, so
They will be surprised because it's a different bill.
It is.
So
but
because you don't know what to really truly expect.
right. So our average member is going to see around a $7 a month
No,
increase.
but nobody's an average member. Nobody's an average member.
Nobody is exactly the average
Right,
because
right.
it is an average,
I mean,
but
you might be less.
you might be less, you might be more, but at any rate, hopefully, if you're hearing this today, it's not the first time you've heard it. We've had some information on your bills. We've talked about it on the radio. We've had it in the magazine. But there was a rate increase that went into effect April 1st. Now, if you're prepay, if you're a member that's on prepay, you've already noticed
Felt
that and
it.
seen it and felt it. If you're on traditional billing, when you get your bill May 1st or May 8th, whichever bill cycle you're on, you're going to see that bill is calculated at the new rate. So April 1st, but unless you're prepay, you're not going to see that until next month.
So if
when
you got a
get your
bill coming, it's still the old rate.
Right.
If you haven't received it yet.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially
absolutely.
on the
the second
April 8th.
cycle. Yeah.
You
Yep.
may not have gotten it yet.
Right.
Got
So
mine yesterday.
it did go up. Our service availability went up 10 cents a day. So you're looking at a $3 a month increase, even if you use 0 kilowatt hours. Maybe it's a cabin or something that you've got that you don't have any usage to. You're going to see that $3 a month because service availability is going up a dime a day. But then the kilowatt hour rate's going from 9 cents to 9.33. So
Killing me.
you're not a huge increase, but certainly an increase. And you know, I mentioned the price of the poles. The same pole 5 years ago to today,
I get
around
it.
170 to over 350.
Just think of the price of the trucks.
The price of the truck, you know, a digger truck, or not a digger truck, but one of our bucket trucks has doubled in costs. I mean, it's just, and those are one of those things that you can't get even in a 6-month turnaround. They're telling us to try to plan for those 4 or 5 years out, which is difficult to do.
And that's kind of crazy because you know that those factories are there and you know there's a demand because people couldn't get any for 5 years.
Right.
So why are we not making them?
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, and
I want an
that's-
answer, Heather. I want it right now.
Well, I don't have it. You're going to have to get it from somebody else. We feel you. We have the same concerns. But,
How bad?
you know, you talk about some of these people behind the scenes that make things work, and planning is a huge, huge part of it. And when you're asked to notify a dealership that you want a vehicle in 5 years, there's a lot that goes into kind of planning for that, and which vehicles are going to need to be replaced in 5 years, and which
yeah.
ones are going to be used the most and have the most mileage. So there's a lot of planning that goes on, and then by the time we get that in 5 years, what's the cost going to look like? You know, it probably more than what we're budgeting for
Well,
now.
it sure will be. I can guarantee you that.
So a lot of moving parts. A rate increase, I promise you, is never taken lightly when that's discussed in the boardroom. We have 9 different board directors, and none of them want to raise your rates. I mean,
Well, you're raising their rates too.
they're members as well, absolutely. So a lot goes into consideration when they're trying to to build those rates and make sure that everyone pays their fair share, but that it's done in a way that has the least impact. We saw that even with this rate increase. We felt ours from our power providers January 1. And your board said, no, we're not going to pass that on to our members in January when they have, many of them, their highest bills and their highest usage. We will wait till spring. We will absorb that. We will figure it out. We will not pass that on in January. So they're looking out for you. Some things are just sort of inevitable, and you hate to have to raise rates, but
well, it's coming.
Yeah.
If you're not prepay, you will see it come the next time around.
Yeah.
When your bill arrives. All right. The only thing I do want to point out, one more final thing, and we usually do point out this time of year. It might be maybe a month early, but probably not, because we've had some fairly nice weather, and I see some people already getting out on their boats and on their docks and starting to prepare their pools.
Yes. So hopefully in grade school you learned water and electricity do not mix. But if you didn't, here's your reminder. Water and electricity do not mix. Boat docks are especially important to have checked because things happen throughout the year.
That's right. Water gets underneath, it freezes. Or beavers.
Yeah, wildlife. Yep.
Yeah, they get underneath there and they start chewing.
They can cause problems too. Yeah, but just the shifting and the water level changing and the freezing and thawing, stuff can shift and settle and move and pull away from. If you have a boat dock, it is worth your time and money, I promise you, to hire an electrician to come out, take a look at it, give you the A-OK, or let you know what needs to be fixed. You don't want anyone in that water around that boat dock if there's a problem. And it's just easy to call somebody and have them come out and check it. And it's a good habit to get into at the beginning of every season.
You're right. And make sure you have the GFCIs on there. You want those ground fault interrupters right away.
Right. And that's the type of outlet that you want to if you have a pool at home and you're going to have your pump, if anything, plugged in. But we see a lot of other things that are electric that are used when there's pool time, radios and fans sometimes. And if there's electric grills.
Smokers and things of that nature that people like to put out there anymore.
Make sure you've got that GFCI. That's that special outlet that you're supposed to use anytime there's water present. It's gotta shut off essentially. It's just an extra layer of safety.
Right. Which should also tell you that if you're going to run a cable from inside your home, an extension cord, make sure you put it into a ground fault interrupt socket. You do not want that to go into just a normal wall socket.
Right.
Because you will not be protected.
Right.
Not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
But a lot of people run that inside a garage, and they're just doing a little work on their deck, and they don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
And you will think twice about it if something happens. It's just, there's no turning back, guys. That's always the problem. Once an accident happens, you wish and hope and pray it wouldn't have happened. Problem is, if you'd have just taken the extra 5 minutes when you considered running that extension cord out of your window, out of your bedroom, you wouldn't have had this incident happen. And we just don't want anybody to go back and say, I wish it never would have happened. Or, gosh, I don't know why that happened. What happened because we weren't thinking, happened because we were in a hurry. Usually that's what always happens when an accident happens. People are just
in a hurry.
They're
convenience,
distracted,
right.
Or they're just not paying attention. Or, and hopefully, Heather, we're trying to make people aware that they are aware that there are some differences in those plug-ins that you have. Some are protected, some aren't.
And if you have an outlet that you use frequently with stuff outside and it's not a GFCI, now's a great time to have that changed over and switch it so that you can conveniently and easily continue to use that outlet, but then you've upgraded that and you've changed it to one that'll have that extra layer of protection.
And there you go.
Yep.
That was well said. I can't even better that. So I'm going to shut up.
Okay. Well, I don't have much more to add either, but I do want to just remind everyone that if they have any questions, they can always give us a call. They can always stop by and visit us. They can visit us online. They can send us a message through Smart Hub, call, go through the drive-through if it's Rolla or Mountain Grove.
Okay.
Come in the office.
So let's give them the numbers. Let's do it.
So if you want to reach us toll free, the number is 866-621-3679. And our website is ieca.coop, C-O-O-P. And if you're on any type of social media, you can search for Intercounty Electric. We're on, I used to say Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but I believe it's Facebook, Instagram, and X now. So have to get used to saying that. But look for us on there. We share energy efficiency information, safety information, and kind of keep you updated on what's going on at the co-op.
One last thing, that if you have a group or an organization that would like a presentation, Intercounty can provide that for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times what we're asked to put on is a safety presentation, those Power Town displays. We love to do that type of thing. We can do that. We've been doing a lot of like career day things at the schools. We talk about the different jobs at the co-op. So if your school wants something like that, we can do it. But we have groups that ask for energy efficiency, and I think we're probably going to see an increase in that because there is a rate increase, but not only a rate increase with Intercounty, but people are feeling inflation everywhere. You know, they go to the grocery store and their bill is much higher than what it was.
That's beyond inflation.
Yeah, but they're feeling that and they're looking for ways to save. So I think we'll probably this year see an increase in the number of groups that are going to ask for some sort of presentation on energy efficiency. And we can do that too. Bring you some information, talk to you about some of the things that we talk about on here, but kind of go in depth and be available to answer questions. So absolutely, give us a call. If your group or your classroom or whatever, if they want a presentation, we do that, and we do that for free.
Another free
thing.
We started out free. We'll finish
ending
on free.
I like it.
I do too. We
Yeah.
ought to stick with that. Maybe we
Okay.
should name this free. No, we shouldn't. It's not free. Nothing's free. But we do appreciate that. Heather, thank you for coming in and spending some time with us on our Intercounty Tuesday. It's every second Tuesday. We bring it to you. Heather or one of her fantabulous associates will be in. Sometimes Tony and sometimes somebody else. Just never know who's going to be making their way over.
That's right.
But most of the time,
It's usually me.
it's usually Heather.
Yeah, you're stuck with me.
Oh, that's not a terrible thing. We can handle that.
Okay.
So we do thank Heather for coming by and spending some time with us. We hope you found something here that maybe strikes a chord, and hopefully it will make you more aware of something going on. I want to thank all of those juniors that did
Absolutely
participate in the essay contest, and congratulations to all the winners going to D.C. They'll change their lives, I guarantee that.
will.
And hopefully the ones on the cycle program will enjoy that just as much. That's going to be another very, very good program as well. But you always want to thank our friends from Intercounty for coming in and spending some time with us. And always remember, they are basically just at the end of your hand. You can just basically call them. If you're on your computer, go to ieca.coop, check that out. A lot of different things going on. And Heather's going to write down that note that she has to get those magnets done. And
I am writing down magnets. Stan called it before he even saw what I was writing.
I could see her mind working. It was great to see. Heather, again, thank you for coming in, spending some time with us right here on KSMO on our Intercounty Tuesday. Thanks
you.
again. Keep it here. We got civic happenings coming up in just a moment at KSMO Radio. We also have